So, like a week and a half ago, we received a little bit of information from an interview done with some of the people involved with the production of the Pokemon anime, and it revealed two things. Number one, that the visuals for the opening theme song would be changing very soon, which will be nice to see shots of Ash's new Pokemon and Go's evolved reboot. Number two, this is the big one, they literally confirmed that characters from the past series of Pokemon will be returning. You know what this means, right? Serena! Anyways, so today I just wanted to go through some characters that I think deserve to return. Now keep in mind that this is past characters are returning, not just past companions, meaning that anybody from May and Lily to even gym leaders like, I don't know, Rourke from Sinnoh has a chance to return. This opens a world of possibilities for things like epic battles between older gym leaders, older rivals. Hell, Ash is a champion now. We might even see the return of Elite Four members and other champions. Now I'm not sure if older characters includes older Pokemon of Ash's, so I decided to split that into its own separate video, so make sure to subscribe and come back next week to see the video where I go over which Pokemon Ash should bring back. As for this video though, I'm actually going to be breaking it into 3 sections. We'll do companions, rivals, and then just a general section for other characters that may return. So let's address the one that's probably on a lot of people's minds, Serena! I think Serena returning in Pokemon Journeys is almost a guarantee. She's the most popular of Ash's companions in Japan and probably worldwide. This may just be my personal bias speaking, but I really do think with her popularity, she's a shoo-in. If she appears in Pokemon Journeys, more people will inevitably watch the episode she's in, and they'd be more inclined to watch the series. I know that returning characters usually get a ton of people back into the Pokemon anime, and the same thing would happen here. It's a no-brainer, and this series is the perfect opportunity. They've literally established the fact that Ash can just run into people he's met before, like when he met up with Karina in episode 25, so I'm certain they can easily write in a way that makes sense. With the way Journeys is set up, I can see Ash and Go back in Kalos, and they hear about a Pokemon performance starring none other than Serena, who is back from Hoenn. This would be a perfect setup for a 2 or 3-parter involving some short little plotline that adds to her character. We could see some of her new performance routines. Maybe she could have caught more Pokemon, or maybe Braixen could have evolved by then, but I doubt that as Braixen is kind of iconic to her at this point. Either way, I do think she will return, and she will have improved during her journey in Hoenn. I do want to say that a cameo or reappearance by Serena probably wouldn't be that big on the Amore shipping side. Guys, if she ever does come back, don't expect a direct reference to the kiss at the end of XYZ. At best, they'd lightly reference it, but as much as it pains me to say, there likely won't be too much shipping material. Next up, I do want to address the potential return of Brock and Misty though. I would enjoy for them to come back, but even though Ash lives in Kanto again, I don't think they're going to reappear this series just because they got the spotlight in Sun and Moon. If they did return though, it would be cool to see them competing in the World Coronation series, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem like something they would do, especially in Brock's case since he really isn't a battler. We haven't seen May and especially Max for a while, but May has had a ton of time in the spotlight being one of the companions to travel with Ash the longest. And even though Max was also there, he didn't get a ton of development at all, and I think it would be really cool for Max to return in the series and have a Ralts. Maybe it won't officially be his or anything, but maybe a sort of scenario like with Bonnie and Dande. Ash and Max did promise each other a battle, and since Wally doesn't exist in the anime universe, this could be quite the parallel between him and Max in the anime universe with a Ralts. This sounds a little fanfiction-y at this point though, so I definitely don't expect it to happen, but Max was criminally underdeveloped and I'd love to see him return. Another character that fans would love to have back is Dawn. Other than Serena, she's probably the most popular Pokemon anime girl, and we haven't seen her since Black and White, so it'd be nice to see her come back, but like with May and the other older characters, she really has had a ton of development and a ton of time in the spotlight, so while I would love to see her return, I'm not sure what more they could add to her to make her return memorable. That being said, for May and Dawn, I had the same ideas floating around in my head before Brock and Misty returned last series, so they definitely could write something meaningful in. Also, with Diamond and Pearl remakes all but confirmed for the next few years, I'd be extremely surprised if she doesn't return, honestly, just as a plug for those games. Clement vs. Ash was one of, if not the best gym battle in the Pokemon anime, and I definitely want to see a rematch between them because Clement seems like he might be interested in the World Coronation series. Even if he's not though, he's still a really awesome character that deserves to return. He'll definitely have some new Clemente gear to show off, and maybe we can even see Clembot back in action because, you know, it fucking died. Just like Max though, Bonnie deserves to return even more because while she did have a ton more development, I would love to see her again and get more of her character. Dande could come back and also maybe Squishy, probably not. That being said, Bonnie was a delight throughout the entire series of XY, and at the end she was really sad about everyone separating, so I want to see her reaction to the Kalos gang coming back together if that were ever to happen. Also, let's not forget about Iris and Silen, who are really forgettable for the reason that not much happened with their storylines in Black and White. There wasn't much of a direction, and it would be really cool to see what they're doing now. I can see Ash running into Iris, and since she wants to be a Dragon Master, there could be a battle between them. Maybe Ash can bring his Dragonite to fight Iris in a nice little mirror match. Iris probably wouldn't be wearing her in-game champion clothing though, just because that version, in my opinion, doesn't really go well with her anime character. And for Silen, I loved his personality in Black and White, but just like Iris, he didn't really get that much of an arc. I always wondered what he did after he left, because he left for the fishing rally in Johto, right? But that can't be it. He obviously had to do stuff after that, and I'm really curious what that is. Last we heard he was in Shallor City, but if he was still there, we probably would have seen him in episode 25. Another forgotten companion that I desperately want back just in general is Tracy. What the hell? They basically erased him from existence after Black and White was over. He cameoed a few times there, and in the last episode he was briefly mentioned by Professor Oak, but he was just gone in Sun and Moon when the gang literally spent an entire episode at Professor Oak's lab. I get Tracy wasn't that big of a character, but it really pisses me off that he's just gone without mention. I think it would be cool if he came back and got some interaction with Chloe, since he's a Pokemon watcher and her mom is an illustrator. It would be really cool to see Chloe become a Pokemon watcher too. The last companions that I believe have the most high chance to return are the Alola gang. Because they left it off on such a cliffhanger with Lily, Gladion, and Lusamine heading off to find Mon, I really think we're going to see something relating to that. If they weren't going to do that, I think they surely would have made the resolution to that arc into its own little special episode. They made specials for every series I think except Sun and Moon, so like I've been saying a lot this video, it just makes sense. As for Kiawe, Mallow, Lana, Sophocles, even Kukui, Burnett, and Rotom decks, when Ash and Go inevitably head off to the Alola region, it'd be really hard to avoid them just because that region is just built around the characters. Plus, we'll definitely get some continuity from there because the champion of Alola isn't going to go to the region that he's a champion of and not have anybody recognize him. So do I think Ash will reunite with all of these companions in this series? Honestly, there isn't a good way to tell, but I'm going to put the wild prediction out there that we'll see the Alola gang, Serena, and if we're lucky, also Donna in this series. I get that sounds like very wishful thinking, but I don't know, Journeys is pretty wild so far. So next up is Rivals, and I'm going to talk about them in order starting with Gary. I can honestly see him returning in the series because he's a Pokemon researcher, and maybe it won't be for battling purposes, it probably won't, but I mean Ash is a researcher technically now, and Gary is also, so I don't know, I think there's something that could be had there. It would be really something to see how far Gary has progressed on his quest to be a researcher. From the rival perspective, it doesn't make sense for him to come back as a full-fledged battler, but I bet the boys from Palette wouldn't mind a battle for old time's sake. Ash's next main rival is Paul, and even if just for an episode, I feel like it would be a huge disservice and a missed opportunity if they didn't bring him back. Cynthia stated that Ash and Paul would be competing in the Champions League, which is basically what the World Championships are. At the end of Diamond and Pearl, he said he was going to challenge Brandon at the Battle Pyramid, and a cool theory I've heard from friends online is that much like how Ash challenged the Battle Frontier and actually got offered a position as Frontier Brain, Paul did the same and actually accepted the position off screen. That would be amazing to see, and he's going to be so much stronger too. This needs to happen. Barry might come back as a World Coronation Series competitor because just like Dawn, Diamond and Pearl remakes are around the corner, and he would be a great way to plug those games. I'm just gonna kind of gloss over Trip and the other Unova rivals, because as much as I liked characters like Stefan and Bianca to an extent, for the most part I don't think any Unova characters, including Iris and Silen, will return because, surprise surprise, the Black and White anime wasn't popular. It's pretty wishful thinking to have Iris and Silen back, so any of the Unova rivals is just probably not happening. I think Sawyer won't return just because that arc is really kind of finished in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I think it would be cool to get more callbacks to Pokemon X and Y, which is why I do think that Alon will return in some capacity during the series, because once again, it just makes sense in my opinion. Alon's the only major rival of Ash Ketchum's that he never defeated, right? So I think that narratively speaking, it makes a whole lot of sense for him to return. Especially because they left it on a cliffhanger at the end of XY, with Alon basically throwing out his Mega Ring and Mega Stone so he can get his own and not live in the shadow of Lysander. It would be cool to see him come back with a Mega Stone of his own. Maybe Greninja can also come back for some sweet revenge, but that's a discussion for the video about Ash's Pokemon next week. Then I already talked about Gladion and Kiawe in the companion portion, but Kiawe and Ash never really got that epic battle that I felt like they were hinting to at the League and Alola, so I'd love to see a battle between them. Gladion will probably come back to finish off that little Aether family arc though. And then this section is just for characters I think should come back just in general. First off is the champions. I think there's a case to make for pretty much every champion to return because of the Masters 8. So I think the champions that will for sure return are Cynthia, Leon's gonna be here obviously, Lance will be back, and probably Steven. At first I didn't think think Diantha would return, but she was kinda teased a bit with her cameo appearance on this magazine in episode 26, so I think she's in. Ash is obviously gonna be taking one of those slots assuming each region's champion is in the top 8, and since Raihan is in there also, there's a perfect number of people. Lance takes the slot for Kanto and Johto since he's the champion of both, Steven for Hoenn, Cynthia for Sinnoh, Alder for Unova, Diantha for Kalos, Ash for Alola, Leon for Galar, and then Raihan's in there. Other characters they could bring back are older professors. They've already shown a picture of Elm in this series, and Oak just has like an eternal presence in the anime. But once again, with Ash being a research fellow in this show, I would love for him to meet older professors. I guess this kind of ties into next video, but if they really wanted to give us a throwback, Anthony could come back and Ash could finally reunite with his Primeape. Overall though, I know we're going to see more gym leaders like Karina, and they definitely teased a battle with Lieutenant Surge, and I can even see characters like Maylene make a comeback because of her Lucario. It could make for some nice Riolu development. Also, if this is Ash's last series, I hope that we get a closer for Team Rocket, not just the trio, but the entire organization. If Ash does leave, Team Rocket should have an arc where they finally disband too. This series has a ton of potential, and honestly, if they don't take the opportunity to bring back characters from the anime's past, it really would be a huge middle finger to the longtime fans of the show. I mean, there's so much material to use here. Instead of, lame filler like a certain episode, maybe just give us more episodes like episode 25. You can focus on this new series characters while also bringing back older characters. That's all I'm saying. This is a really nice chance for us to get some development on characters that desperately need it, tie up some loose ends, and even bring back fan favorites, and I sincerely hope they don't screw it up. Like I said at the beginning, make sure to stay tuned for next week's video where I'll be going over what Pokemon should come back. Other than that though, feel free to let me know what characters you want to return in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, obviously, and with all of that out of the way, my name is Zoro, and make sure to stay tuned to my channel as the journey continues.